everyone, welcome back to the Winner Circle. I'm Derrick.
And I'm Cody.
And we're not going to waste no time. We're going to get right into it. You know what it is. It's coming out here probably a Saturday when you're watching this. This is our interview with Brittany. As always, if you're not familiar with it, we are not actually asking the questions to Brittany directly. We have to submit the questions the night she's evicted. Someone from Big Brother will ask her the questions, so we can't have any like follow-ups. So essentially, we submit the questions. We kind of give our analysis here. And that's really it. Not too much to it, right?
Nah, not too much to it, guys. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and turn on those bell notifications so you can be the first to know the second our videos go live. And I was talking with somebody about YouTube, and some of you may have not been getting the notifications. So just make sure you go in there and turn on those notifications, because YouTube does a lot of stuff. It fixes our algorithms, and sometimes that kind of resets your settings. So go in there, make sure those notifications are on.
Yeah.
So let's jump.
You definitely want to have them on too, right?
Yeah.
You definitely want to have them on because this will be our last episode before the Big Brother after party. Again, not familiar with it. We've done it. We started it last year. We're going to do it this year. We will have a live stream that starts immediately after the finale ends. And during that live stream, we're going to have former BB alum. We're going to be breaking down the episode, and we will be interviewing the winner of Big Brother 24, the runner-up, and America's favorite player. You can be in the comment section asking us things, making comments that we might actually see while we're interviewing them. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And the only way to make sure that you're live when we're live is to have those notifications on. So it's a really great thing to check out before this Sunday.
Yep. So let's jump right into the interview with Brittany, our most recent evicted house guest, evicted at the Final Four. The first question we asked Brittany is, how do you plan on going about the conversation with Michael when you finally get to talk to him?
Oh my gosh, I'm glad you're asking me this. I need to think this through. I'm very excited to talk with him. And I want to hear him out. I want to understand where his head was at. I know he was in definite self-preservation mode and had to make a lot of really quick decisions, perhaps some that he stands by, perhaps some that he regrets. I don't know. I want to hear him out. I guess my main question that I want to ask him is, why in the world, given that we were working so closely together, why in the world did you think that there was anything you could say or do on your way out that would make you any less than a target? He was such a strong competitor that I don't think there's anything he could have said about me or otherwise that would have convinced people. And so really, in effect, he just kind of dragged me down with him. And I just want to know if that was intentional. Did he really not want to see me go far? Because I would have never dragged him down with me. It didn't even cross my mind. And I think that's why it took me so much by surprise to hear those things coming from him, because I just thought we had that kind of trust and that kind of relationship where that was just a line that wouldn't be crossed. So I want to hear it from him.
All right. So kind of what it was expected from Brittany. She was really into the relationship that she had with Michael. She genuinely likes him. So I can see how she would be hurt. At the end of the day, everyone's different, right? I personally, if I was close to you in a game, not just you, Cody, but anybody, and you got up there in that final moment and you told the house that, hey, listen, the first part of Michael's speech, which was, hey, I'm going to go after these two. If you keep me here, I'm better for your game. I can win comps. That's a good argument. But the minute he started like dogging her, that wasn't going to help him to make her look worse. I thought his first argument was better. So personally, I respect Michael because I said it before. He's a savage. He will cut his own mother if it gets him further in the game. But she has to realize that the friendship probably wasn't mutual. I do think Michael genuinely liked her, but I also think Michael was there for himself and would rather win the game than be friends with Brittany personally. So I don't know what she's expecting from him in that situation. I don't personally think the relationship was as close as she thinks it was, but maybe Michael will feel different. Ultimately, it's going to be up to them to mend that bridge.
Yeah, I agree and disagree. I do think it was a mutual friendship. I do feel like he did feel the same way that Brittany does, but I completely agree with what you just said, that he would be willing to cut his own mother. So I think that is just it kind of just shows the kind of character that Michael has. It's yes, I am willing to be your best friend, and yes, I do feel genuine that our friendship is real, but when there's $750,000 attached, I don't care how close you are to me. I will drag you and cut you. And I completely agree that it brought no benefit to him to drag her. It only makes it worse. It's like you're you're willing to do that to the person that we all know you're so close with. Why in the world would we trust to keep you here? So I think it
Yeah.
just was really unnecessary. I think it would have caught me by surprise as well. And I would have been pissed off. I would have been like, how in the world does dragging me to the extent that he did benefit him staying here? So I would
Let me
be
ask you,
annoyed.
if I did that to you, be honest. If I did that to you before I went out, are you? There's nothing I'm going to say that's going to make you feel some type of way in a good way after that, right?
No,
I mean, that's
we ain't
it.
as tight as
Okay.
I thought we were.
Yeah, we might be acquaintances, but like
Yeah.
I'm not forgetting that day.
Right, 100%. Do you agree? Would it be the same thing if I did that to you?
Facts.
100%,
Because
right?
I'm not saying Brittany had a chance at winning, but any small percentage of a chance she had at winning before that, he left by saying basically, do not trust her. And she was done. She
And it
was
threw into a
absolutely done.
tailspin, right? Like she then
Yeah.
is all of a sudden like, I just got dragged by my best friend who just divulged my entire game to the house. And now she's caught having to pick up the pieces on her own. It's like,
Yeah.
it just sends her into a completely different mental state. And honestly, if that had happened by someone that was as close to me as Michael was to her, that friendship is not the same friendship after, like you just said,
No.
it's an acquaintance. It's like, yeah, we played the show. We obviously were close, but obviously not that close.
Yeah, you were a number. That's it. No, I mean, listen, I hope they work it out for their sake. She seems like she genuinely wants to be friends with him. I
yeah.
hope he feels the same way. You know, best
We'll
of
see.
luck.
Yeah. Question number 2. We asked Brittany, you had a conversation with Taylor where she told you the Brittany Flea comic was in regards to your gameplay and how you latched onto Michael. Do you agree or feel that you contributed equally to your alliance?
That is so funny. Let us remember, though, that it said the head itch in charge. So, we'll take what you will from that as well. I agree with that comment. See how it be perceived that way. And I definitely will be the first to admit being aligned with Michael had its benefits, especially with the festy bestie twist. The nature of the twist definitely made that, a good thing to be his partner. I will say Michael and I forged a friendship on day 2. This was when I was wearing the backstage shirt and he was on the block before he ever played his first comp. So I don't think anyone could say that I latched onto him knowing, that things were going to turn out the way that they did. Honestly, when we first created our final 2, it didn't make sense for us to be working together, yet we did it anyways. But yeah, I think there's many ways to get further in this game. There's no right or wrong way to do it here in Big Brother. And so I knew that kind of riding that Michael train as far as I could would benefit me, and that I needed to have an emergency ripcord should he not be around. And that's exactly what I did.
So I think, her relationship with Michael is on her end. She doesn't really understand fully kind of the optics of how it started. I know on the second day they were close because they both felt on the outs. That's something that you can bond over. Michael ultimately chose her as a festy bestie as a backup plan because she wasn't in the initial alliance that Michael was in. And so he didn't pick her because they were final 2. Like, I would have never picked you in any aspect to be my partner ever, because I would never want people to feel like we were actually a final 2. So he picked her because she was a number to him, and a number that he was willing to cut or have cut because if he was sitting on the block. So the relationship didn't really start in a great sense. And I always wondered this about them, because it was like Michael picked her because it wasn't in that 6 alliance and he wanted her on the block next to him to ultimately go home. So I think she doesn't really understand that fully. I don't know if she ever became aware of that or ever put 2 and 2 together, but I don't know. She definitely was attached, and I don't know. Head itch in charge is I don't know if that shows that she was in charge. But I got to be honest with you, her answering these questions and the energy that she's answering these questions with, and the fun that she's answering these questions is very likable. It's very likable on my end, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I don't, I know the whole situation with Michael, Kyle, and Brittany we really didn't like, but I kind of put that more on Michael than I do on Brittany, and her answering these questions, like, she's fun, she's good hearted. And so I love that she's like kind of rolling with the punches here.
Yeah, I have a top. I like I pride myself on being able to read people, and I can't tell with Brittany. I can't tell if she's genuine or she's just constantly like, I've been to like family get-togethers where you have that family member where they're like, oh my God, so what are you up to lately? That's amazing. And I can tell immediately they don't care. They're already thinking of the next question they're going to ask me. It's so disingenuous. And she's so over the top. Maybe that's who she is, or maybe she is just like putting on a facade. I don't know. I feel like that's probably who she is. It's almost to the point where it's like, wow, you're aggressive with those eyes. Like you're so engaged. But I see what you're saying. It is endearing to a certain degree, And yeah, I think she's a little clouded by the way the game went, and she thinks, and who's going to sit up there and be like, I suck and he's great. You know, right. I don't expect her to do that. We were having a little fun with her. So it was what it was. Absolutely, Michael was a major reason why she was still in the game as long as she was. But that being the case, I'll give her this. There was a point in the game where she told Michael, you need to get out Turner and Monty right here or you're going home. And Michael decided to go with his gut, and he ended up in jury because of it. If he would have listened to Brittany, maybe he'd still be there. We don't know. So I'll give her that. But I guess the best way to sum this up, if Brittany's not in the game, Michael still gets to the point where he got. If Michael's not in the game, Brittany does not. She probably goes home week one or two.
I think that's a fair statement. I think Brittany had great awareness. She's definitely a student of the game. But I think, like you just said, you know, if Brittany wasn't there, Michael still does well. If Michael isn't there, I don't know how well Brittany would do.
No, I
agree.
Great
point. I think it's a great point by you. Question number 3. There was a lot of controversy surrounding Kyle's comments this year. Some house guests questioned the timing of when you decided to share that information. You said that it did not help your game at all by sharing it, but when you did, your target got out of the house and you kept all of your allies safe. So is it fair to say it did help your game to a certain degree?
You know what's interesting here is coming out of Direfest, Kyle was not my target. I mean, I thought we were still the leftovers. That's the job that we did inside with Big Brochella, and was what, you know, we had hoped for and somewhat expected to happen in Direfest. So no, I don't think anything that had to do with the situation helped my game at all.
All right, so quick and to the point. I don't believe her. So, and here's the thing. So there was a deflection there for sure, because we asked the question, and I think what we're saying is facts. When they got back from the Direfest, Kyle did become their target. So her saying, well, it's funny because Kyle wasn't our target before Direfest. We know that. And that's why you didn't expose him. It was when you came back from Direfest and realized that he had flipped that he became your target. So what she's saying in that first part, she's actually telling the truth, but that's not what we asked. Yeah. We asked, was he your target when you made those statements, when you decided to expose him? Yes, he was. You came back from Direfest, realized that he had turned on you, realized that you needed to get him out, and by getting him out, if you could pull it off, Taylor would be safe, who was a number for you. So I think it's not being completely honest to say that in no way, shape, or form this benefited you. You knew that if you could get Kyle out, who's no longer with you, that was one less person you would have to go against. And you knew that if Kyle went, that meant Taylor stayed, who was a person who was a number for you. So I think it's short-sighted, and I think she's flat out just, that's why she gave the shortest answer. The other answers that we have, you can't get her to stop talking. This answer, it's very quick. She probably wasn't expecting it. I've told you off camera, I'll say it on camera. Michael, Brittany, if you see this interview, there's no world where you convince me that you didn't know, based on how good at the game you guys are, that you knew that there was an element to this strategy that did benefit you. There's no way you're going to convince me of that. Sorry. That's my take on it.
No, I completely agree. And just to add to that, it's if you didn't feel like Kyle was your target, then you wouldn't have brought the information out and you would have let somebody outside of the leftovers just go home. Like it could have been Terrence or it could have been Alyssa, but you chose to target Kyle because you knew and you thought he was the head of the snake. That was convincing Turner to do what Turner did. And that was to nominate Taylor and Brittany. And so you felt Turner was influenced by Kyle. Kyle was the one that got him to nominate and flip on the leftovers. And so, yes, that's why it turned to Kyle as the target, not a Terrence or Alyssa, who were two people outside of the leftovers. You felt the implosion of the leftovers were due to Kyle, and the most beneficial thing for your game was to get him out. So, yeah, I think it also was just a protection. They're never going to admit, yeah, we did feel like there was an aspect of game to it, but it's like all the optics point directly to it when you sit on something to that degree, or that you say it's to that degree. They both have vocalized it for 4 weeks. So there's no way around that.
And this is the whole precipice of our problem with Michael and Brittany. And we've gotten a lot of comments about it, and that's fine, because a lot of you have said, oh, you weren't as hard on Kyle, who made the comments, as you are on Michael and Brittany. Well, here's the thing. And I hope you guys really genuinely take this from where it's coming from, because it's a place where we're being honest. Kyle, right now, at least, is saying the right things. I'm sorry, I was wrong. It came from a place of racism. I need to learn about myself. I need to grow as a person. I hope you help me along this way. Saying all the right things. I'm not saying whether I believe him or not. I said it to you guys before. I'll say it again. He could come out of the house and completely change his tune, and then he's just as big of a scumbag as anybody else who says it, because he clearly hasn't grown from it. My problem with Michael and Brittany is exactly what we're seeing here. They're just as smart, if not smarter, than Kyle. They know the significance of what Kyle said. They held on to it. And here's an opportunity where I thought this question was very fair. We said, is it fair to say that this did benefit you to a certain degree? Not entirely. She could have taken that olive branch and said, yeah, listen, at the end of the day, I was going to do it because personally I felt the need to do it. It was morally something that I had to do for me. But I can see how also doing it did benefit my game in some ways. So I own that. It wasn't my main purpose, but I own that. Instead, it was like, no, this did not benefit my game at all. That's a lie. Mm-hmm. That's a lie. And as a Big Brother fan, you know that. So that's why I have such a problem with them, because they know what they did. They know why they did it. And yet they'll tell you to your face that had nothing to do with it. And that is why, for me personally, I'm almost more angry at them than I am at Kyle, because again, Kyle's saying he's, remorseful right now. We'll see. They're not owning anything, which bothers me. But let me take that back for a second. Michael did own some of it to a degree, but then he backpedaled, but he owned more of it than her. So I'll give Michael that. But that's the main issue that I have for everybody out there who's like, why are you so hard on them and not Kyle? This is why.
It's because they're not viewing it objectively. They're viewing it subjectively. They're viewing it in their own terms versus like how the optics of it completely look. And whether or not you want to admit that it stems in personal gain, if you can just take a step back and say, I understand how that looks, and I'm sorry for how it comes across, but in the game, we want to further ourselves, and we've realized that we were on the outs. And yes, Kyle did say this, and bringing it up at this moment could be viewed negatively or not, but these are still things that he said. And so, yes, it did benefit me a little bit, but he still said these things. So I don't understand why I'm catching the heat for now bringing it to the table. I would almost respect an answer like that a little bit more.
I would as well. There's just no accountability. Hey, but listen, I don't think it'll happen, but I want you to know the show's coming to an end. We absolutely invite you, Michael, you, Brittany, and Kyle. You're all invited to come on the show afterwards. We were very hard on you three this year. If you have a way that you think you could come on here and convince us that there was no self-serving purpose to you exposing Kyle when you did, or Kyle doing what you did from a game point, by all means, come on and try to convince us. Spoiler alert, it's probably not going to happen. But I would be totally up for that debate where you could try to convince me that there was nothing game-related to the timing of your divulging of that information.
Yep. Completely
I would love it.
Yeah.
we get a lot of views, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And our final question for Brittany is, you are a Big Brother super fan. Now that you are out of the game, what previous house guest would you compare your game to?
Oh, I am a super fan, although I will say I think I might have created a new breed of player this season. I can't think of any previous house guest that has been in the situations that I have been in, played the way that I felt in that moment that I needed to play, and, got to Final Four through whatever methods, were necessary. So I'm going to say that I can't really compare myself. Perhaps a new player, a new form of player has been born.
It wasn't a bad answer, because she saved herself there. It's
You're good, you. You're good, you. She's good. That's dude, she's got me. I don't even know what to say.
She's a new breed of player. Hey, Brittany, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. Brittany played a sloppy game. She didn't play that
Super
clean
sloppy.
of a game. She very emotional. I know this is just a little early, but she's not a top tier player. I said it before. She would have been gone very early. She comes off very aggressive in her conversations with people. She's very
Loose-lipped.
emotional. And then also something I don't think she controlled, the eyes and stuff. It just comes off as like very forward. So Brittany is a different type of player. She was entertaining at points. She did make some good scenes where the facial expressions when she was like not in a good place and all these things. But I want to say this, and the final thing I'll say about Brittany is, and I could be wrong, I do think at the core, Brittany is a very good person. I may not like her style of gameplay. I may not like her as a Big Brother player. That's different than who she is in the outside world. I have a feeling that at the core, she is a very good person, and she does mean well for the most part. And so I hope the best for her. If she enjoyed her experience, and ultimately I know she wants to have a family after this, if this leads to things that she's able to make a little extra yashkarol doing the Instagram stuff and all that, hey, I want that for her. I want everybody to be happy, and she is part of the BB family. That's how it is. We don't always love our family members, you know what I mean? And I got nothing but love for all of them, her, Michael, Kyle, the whole rest of the crew. I wish nothing but the best for him. Hopefully she looks at the season, comes back, maybe has a little bit more accountability about what took place, and she moves on with the life. And this is just a good memory that she can hold on to and tell her kids about one day.
Yeah, I hope nothing but the best for Brittany. I hope that she is able to, because I know you could just tell from the conversation she had that having a family is something that is really meaningful. I don't
100%.
think we have the full story like maybe some of the house guests do. Like maybe the feeds weren't on for a lot of it, or maybe we're just unaware of it. But it definitely is something that I think she wants very badly, and so I really hope that for her. I don't know what the situation is, but I hope the best for her. I hope that she can start her family. I hope she finds means outside of this opportunity that can maybe push her in the direction that she's looking for to start that family. But yeah, as a Big Brother player, right from the jump, when Brittany was, the all-girl alliance she was in, sending that information to Pooch about Amira, ultimately like kind of imploding that,
Sloppy.
starting the trust to just get, the trust was broken very early on, and then she was constantly doing things where she was slipping up. And I don't think it was a slip up where like Alyssa was slipping up. I think Brittany was trying to do things strategically, and it was just a very sloppy style. But she went all the way to Final Four. So it's like, yeah, it was sloppy. And I think she had a good pulse on what was going on, even though she always would talk about being on the outs. But that's because she was in the alliance that had a pulse in the house. So she couldn't be that much on the outs. So, is she this insane player? Maybe not. But she did go to Final Four, and that's a feat in itself.
Yeah, I agree, and it's kind of an interesting combination between Michael and Brittany because you have two super fans, and their alliance basically proved two different things. One, if you study the game, if you watch the game, you prepare for the game, you can do very well, like Michael did. On the other hand, you can study the game, prepare for the game, watch the game, and it doesn't necessarily translate into being a good Big Brother player. So we got both ends of the spectrum there. Yeah. It was interesting to watch, we'll say the least. Any final words for Brittany?
Nope, no final words for Brittany. Just make sure you all have those notifications on so you are here. This is our last episode before the Big Brother finale after party here on the Winner Circle.
You heard it right there, guys. We appreciate you joining us here on the Winner Circle. We will see you on finale night.